Happy Wednesday, and welcome back to the Lorden Arts channel. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here today. One of the cases we've been following very closely this year has been the case of Maya, also known as May Millete. And I got to tell you guys personally, I am so motivated to try to help in this case because of Maya's sister, Mary Chris, and her husband, Richard. The efforts that they've been putting in on all fronts, I don't know how they're doing it. If you know this story and you see everything that's going on with it, I don't know how you can't be moved and inspired. But at this point, we've got some really interesting developments. We know Larry has been charged with murder, despite the fact that May has not been found yet. So now we're starting to have some new information that's coming out because of the court proceedings. We've got children and a little bit of a custody. I'm not quite wanting to call it a custody battle yet, but it's quickly shaping up to be that. And some other things that we're learning about through this process. Let's get into some articles here together so that we can understand this better, starting at NBCSanDiego.com. Maya Millete's husband, accused of her killing, ordered not to contact their kids. Kind of an interesting development here. The husband of missing Chula Vista mom, Maya Millete, is now only allowed to speak to his attorney from jail after violating a court order prohibiting him to contact his 3 children. So the court order was already in play. And effectively, he plays this, oh, I didn't know about it. Like, oh, you guys didn't give me a copy of this. And then there was this other aspect where because they're being careful to protect the children's identity, they didn't name the children when they were telling him about this order in court. So now he's kind of playing like, oh, well, I didn't know who you were talking about. The judge was pretty straight with him. They're like, we're pretty sure you knew exactly what we were trying to say and you didn't listen to it. So they also reread the order to him word for word in court. But let's go ahead and get some more of these details. When Larry Millete was arraigned, a criminal protective order was issued preventing Millete from contacting his 3 children who are 5, 10, and 11 years old. Very young children. Keep that in mind for some of what you're going to hear here. Deputy District Attorney Christy Bowles told the court Millete had made 129 phone calls to his parents' home where his children are currently living. She then said that at least 9 hours of those calls, which were recorded, take place with his children. So not only did he not listen to the order, like he violated it big time, 9 hours. In the calls, Millete mentioned Maya's family, asked the 11-year-old to read headlines to him, and also told 2 of the children to watch an R-rated film called Shock Collar to, quote, understand the environment he's in. Now, I believe that they actually got that incorrect. The film is actually called Shot Collar. And I want you to think about this. We're talking about a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and an 11-year-old. Look at this poster. Safety comes with a price. We got a guy. It's about a person being in jail. Here's a quick description. A California stockbroker is arrested and charged for a fatal DUI accident. And on his lawyer's advice, he takes a plea deal which sees him sentenced to 16 months in prison. While incarcerated, he becomes involved with a violent white supremacist gang. So that is what Larry is recommending that his children watch to understand the environment that he's in. Bowles told the court that the children are traumatized, and the order filed in court last week was issued in order to prevent them from incurring any additional emotional harm. Millete pleaded not guilty last week at his first court appearance. He also faces a second charge relating to the alleged illegal possession of an assault rifle. They have a bail hearing set for him that happened just a few weeks ago. We're going to get to that information here in a moment. Over at news.yahoo.com, we already know some details in terms of it sounds like Maya was trying to get out of this relationship. There's a new piece of information that came out. Maya Millete's friends were so concerned about her safety in the weeks and months leading up to her disappearance in January that they gave her access to a safe house. Quote, I gave her an address that if she needed to go to, she could go to. She had just told me she was going to need to use that address, one of Maya's friends, who asked to remain anonymous for her safety, told Fox News. So she was talking to her friends about what's going on, her friends trying to make accommodations for her. Of course, we're talking about a situation where she's got children in the home as well, and I'm sure that that was part of the consideration for why she couldn't quite leave in quite that way. I guess unless she took the children with her and disappeared off to this safe house, but I don't know what the implications of that would be. Is that considered kidnapping at that point? San Diego County District Attorney Summer Stephan filed a motion to deny Larry's bail. Quote, she considered going somewhere and then having him served and even made a contingency plan to stay at a friend's vacant condo, but Maya did not want to leave her kids, prosecutors wrote in that filing. Prosecutors also argued that there is clear and convincing evidence that the defendant has threatened another with great bodily harm, and there is a substantial likelihood that he would carry out that threat if released. So we've got someone else on the radar here. Larry allegedly told someone he was willing to pay $20,000 to, quote, possibly kill a man he believed was having an affair with Maya. Larry allegedly started concocting this murder-for-hire scheme in summer 2020 and mentioned it as recently as January 4th, just a few days before Maya disappeared. There's some other details about this that they're very tough to understand. Jumping over to timesofsandiego.com, Larry Millete denied bail. So thankfully, they're not going to let him out. Defense attorney for Larry Millete asked for bail to be set, telling a judge her client would be willing to wear a GPS ankle monitor and surrender his passport if released. Deputy District Attorney Christy Bowles alleged in court and in written motion that Millete poses a threat to a man with whom he believed his wife was having an affair. Bowles said that starting January 9th, the defendant's obsessive and frantic messages to these spellcasters. So we're getting back to this. We mentioned this in one video previously. Larry started reaching out to spellcasters, to people that he thought had magical powers, witchcraft type powers, to try to get Maya to stay with him. And at first it was to try to keep Maya in love with him. And then later it was to try to hurt Maya enough that she couldn't leave him. Well, now we're getting another touch with these spellcasters in relation to this person that he wants harmed. Prosecutors say Millete wanted to buy a, quote, death spell to target him, as well as a spell to punish the man's unborn child. What's clear is when he feels like he's losing control, he becomes violent, the prosecutor argued. There was another article that came out. At first, I thought it was legit, and then I clicked on it, and unfortunately, I think it's a joke article, but there's a truth behind it that I'm wondering. Has this spellcaster been interviewed? I imagine they have. Are they going to appear on the stand at some point to share what he was going to them for? Things could get very, very interesting in this trial. Over at NBCSanDiego.com, another article, Maya Millete's sister petitions to get custody of 3 children. Like Mary Chris hasn't been doing enough. And this is what I mean. I mean, Mary Chris and Richard working on all fronts for what they see as the best that they can do with the situation that they're dealing with right now. And right now, that's to try to reestablish some form of contact with Maya's children, because what we're going to hear here, they haven't had any contact with the children basically since Maya disappeared. According to court documents obtained by NBC7, Juliet is seeking both a temporary and ultimately permanent guardianship of the children who currently reside with Larry's parents. In the court document, Mary Chris claims that since Maya's disappearance on January 7th, Larry has only allowed Maya's family to contact the children on one occasion, over the phone. And his parents have repeatedly refused to let the children communicate with them since then. She also claims that Larry and his parents have failed and continued to fail to care and provide for the children's emotional health, safety, and welfare. Quote, I believe that it will take a village to care for these children and to make up for the catastrophic loss of their mother. And ultimately, I think she's making a fairly easy to understand point. She's trying to get some type of emotional services, some type of counseling to these kids to help them deal with this. I mean, let's assume for a second that Larry is being honest. Or his point of view. Effectively, his lawyer is saying, hey, we think that Maya really took off. So even if that's the case, wouldn't you want some services to help your children deal with that? Now, outside of that, we know that there's other considerations. I mean, he's facing a murder charge at this point. Wouldn't you want your children to have help dealing with that? There's so many different aspects of this that how can you not agree with Mary Chris's position on this? Ultimately, what happens? Judge orders visitation with kids, but denies custody request by Mary Chris. It's not all done yet, though. I know that sounds like, oh, well, that's it. At least they're going to get to visit them. We're going to find at the end of this article, there's still a little bit in play around this. A judge ordered that the paternal grandparents should allow the kids to visit with their mother's side of the family. So thankfully, they're at least going to formalize some structure on that. They had some structure on that before that Larry was supposed to help with in terms of the kids seeing the other side of the family, and ultimately he just didn't do it. So Mary Chris's attorney said that the grandparents have failed to obtain therapy for the children since May vanished and have allowed their father to violate the court order. It's questionable if his parents really knew about that or not. I mean, he says he didn't even know about it. So would that have been relayed to them necessarily? I don't know if they sent something, had it delivered, and actually had proof that it was delivered to the family. So May's parents filed a petition. May's parents filed a petition for grandparent visitation back in May. An agreement was reached in September that they would have weekly in-person visits. But despite all that, Mary Chris says in court papers that Larry never intended on facilitating visitation. So it sounds like even though there was an agreement reached, none of that actually came to fruition, that May's parents never got to see the kids. Once again, they're just saying they got that one phone call with the kids. Judge Julia Kelledy ordered that Larry's parents facilitate visitation with the maternal side of the family and work to obtain mental health services for the children. So thankfully, it was also extremely easy for a superior court judge to take a look at that situation and say, yes, of course, these children need to have services. The judge declined to make a decision Wednesday regarding guardianship, but a hearing was set for January to revisit the issue. So for permanent guardianship, it's going to come to another trial or another hearing effectively in January. Now, in the meantime, Larry's parents have also filed a motion for permanent guardianship. So that's what I mean by I think we are actually getting to what you would consider a battle. Both sides are basically gearing up for, those kids need to be permanently with me. Another good aspect of this, the court actually appointed kind of a legal guardian, La Mesa attorney Kelly James, to represent the interests of the children for this case. The judge ordered that James be provided a copy of a forensic interview of the three children, which already has been conducted at Rady Children's Hospital Chadwick Center in Kearney Mesa. So it sounds like, because there's some chance that the children might have some piece of this puzzle. They had experts actually sit down with the children. They've already conducted that interview, essentially tried to lock in that information. I really doubt that they're going to want to put children this age on the stand. I don't know if they recorded that interview, if segments of those recordings could be entered as evidence as well. We'll have to see as things actually roll forward. The forensic interview of the children would have concentrated on the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of Maya, as well as the relationship of various family members. The judge ordered that the new legal guardian for the children will also be provided recordings of telephone calls that Larry made from jail to the children. So those 9 hours of calls, this attorney is going to hear those as well. In court, Attorney James said the Millete children are doing well in school and have exhibited no behavioral problems. James told the court that there is an active, ongoing child welfare services investigation into the children's safety. So it sounds like we've got a lot of good people concerned about the children, kind of keeping an eye on this situation. Additionally, she said the paternal grandparents, Benito and Judith Millete, have secured a caregiver's authorization affidavit as they plan on petitioning the court for formal guardianship before the next hearing. So sounds like they're actually trying to jump the gun a little bit, I guess, before the next official hearing. I doubt that anything like that is going to go through, but I don't know. We'll see. And finally, if all that wasn't enough, they're not stopping with the searches. Mary Chris and Richard still out there at it. Search for Maya Millete in Glamis 10 months after she went missing. Sister of missing mother vows to keep searching. I kind of knew she would. I was just wondering, with the charges being filed at this point, is that going to scale them back a little bit? Here we are just a week ago. No, they're still out there. They're still out there looking. News 8 traveled to the Glamis sand dunes the weekend of November 6th, where volunteers teamed up with family members to search for Maya. The search effort concentrated on a series of desert washes east of the Glamis dunes in Imperial County. Maya's sister, Mary Chris, said the whole family camped out at Glamis 4 times in 2020, including the weekend before the mother of 3 went missing. She says that she appreciates the volunteer effort to drive 2 hours, 3 hours from San Diego area all the way to come down here just to help search. It's heartwarming, she said. Seeing what her and her husband are doing is inspiring. It just inspires me to no end. And it's just such a huge testament to how much they love May, how much they love these children, and how they're going to try to help. Now, one of the other things the judge brought up about the children is, hey, does it really make sense for us to take the children away from their current school district because Mary Chris and Richard don't actually live in the same area? Well, do you think Mary Chris would move? Of course. She's already made that clear. She would move to the area to keep the children in the same school district. So just hoping for the best outcome on all fronts when it comes to this case. And of course, we're going to keep tabs on it, and we're going to keep you guys updated right here on the Lord and Arch channel.